A.J. Cassavell joins us from San Diego to talk about this very intriguing possibility. A.J., good morning. Ken Rosenthal has brought us all up to speed about the very real possibility that Betts is dealt before opening day. Talk about that as it pertains to the team that you cover, the San Diego Padres.
Yeah, I think there's some legitimate interest from the Padres in a guy like Mookie Betts. You look at kind of the top half of the Padres lineup, and it's pretty solidified. Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., they got Tommy Pham already this offseason, Eric Hosmer. There's some real questions at the bottom and some real questions in the outfield, though. And Mookie Betts obviously solidifies that in a big way. I think with 1 year remaining on his contract, the Padres wouldn't be willing to part with any of their major kind of big-time prospects, Mackenzie Gore, Luis Patino, even shortstop C.J. Abrams, who's kind of come on strong since he was drafted last season. But there might be something of kind of an agreement on the type of guys that the Padres would send to Boston. I think maybe the sticking point in the deal is the contract of Will Myers and how much the Padres would be willing to eat. Obviously, the Red Sox have kind of luxury tax concerns in that sense. So if that's where the kind of disconnect is, I don't know what it might take to bridge that gap, whether maybe there's another prospect the Padres could throw in or something. But the talks are very real, and the Padres would love to have a guy like Mookie Betts to kind of maybe move forward their window of contention. I think there's a lot of people that think in 2021 this could be a legitimately very, very good team. But they say, you know what? Why not move that forward? Why not kind of go out there and get one of the best bats out there and solidify this offense? Then again, I think there's a lot of teams out there that would be a lot better if they got Mookie Betts.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, we all know what he brings to the table. This is real interesting for me. A.J. Preller, at one time, they loaded it up with the Uptons and Matt Kemp and all the money, and then they got rid of it. And now they've rebuilt this back through prospects, and now they're spending money again. So my question, after giving all that background, is how far financially are the Padres ready to run this out?
I think they've kind of come to the idea that if they're getting supreme talent like they did with Manny Machado last season, they're willing to go kind of that extra step financially. I think the way this differs from what happened in 2015 is the Padres have this time kind of built that young core already to kind of add these bigger pieces around. They've got Fernando Tatis Jr. for the next 5 years, Chris Paddock, some foundational guys in the minor leagues, Mackenzie Gore and Luis Patino. And so if they want to add extra pieces, they have some money to do so and some leeway to work with. And I wouldn't be surprised if they could make this Mookie Betts thing work. I'm just not sure. Kind of they've put themselves in a little bit of trouble with some of those major deals that they've given out in the last couple of years. And so Mookie Betts is obviously it's different than if they were signing him for hundreds of millions of dollars next offseason. This is 1 year to kind of get them into contention right now, and I think they have some wiggle room to do so.
So this is the big story, but I think what's overlooked this winter is their new manager. So now we're into the winter a little bit. You probably got a chance to spend a little time talking to him. What do we expect heading into spring training?
Yeah, I think this is a group of guys that is kind of invigorated. And like I said, they've got the young pieces in place, and they really want to kind of bounce back from the way the season turned last year. If you ask most of these players, they say we're the team that we were during the first half last year when they weren't 500 at the All-Star break, seriously in contention basically into July, and then they're not the team that they were in the second half when they fell off. The new manager kind of changes scenery. He's a down-to-earth kind of guy. I think there's a lot of guys in that clubhouse that can relate to him pretty easily. And in the big picture, maybe that's what the Padres needed. Maybe they are the team that they were during the first half last season when Chris Paddock was going out there every fifth day and throwing a gem, and Fernando Tatis Jr. was doing ridiculous things on the bases. And if they can extract the version of Manny Machado they got for those first 4 months, and even Eric Hosmer at times last season was pretty good. The pieces are in place if they get the most out of those guys. Then again, I think we've seen that there are still areas the Padres can add toward the bottom of the lineup and maybe in the rotation where there are questions. But the change of scenery, the kind of fresh face, I think probably does them good.
Hey, I want to circle back, AJ, to the two pitching prospects that you named earlier, Mackenzie Gore and Luis Patino. Patino had amazing numbers last year in a short sample size, granted, but are there expectations for them to contribute at the major league level perhaps as soon as this year?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. In fact, you go back to last season with what Chris Paddock did during spring training. He kind of came into camp as a guy on the outside looking in. He was dominant, and all of a sudden he earned a rotation spot right out of camp. Now, I think it would take something special for one of these guys to do that, given that Dinelson Lamet, Garrett Richards back from Tommy John surgery. The rotation's a little more solidified this season than it was last year. But that being said, these are guys that could contribute right away. A.J. Preller in the past has shown no hesitancy whatsoever to put his best guys on the big league roster when they're ready. And so if they're one of the Padres, if Gore or Patino or potentially even both of them are two of the Padres' best 5 pitchers come May or June, they're going to be in the big leagues and they're going to be contributing. And I think if you ask people going into the offseason what they thought the Padres might do, a lot of people would have said they're going to add starting pitching. The reason they didn't go out and do that, and the reason they've kind of focused more on the offensive side of things, is because they think long-term their pitching staff could be really good with a couple of these prospects coming up.
Patino, I had in the Futures game last year, lights out.
Yeah, he's exciting. I mean, I know they're excited
Mackenzie
about
Moore
him.
is way up
Good
here
dude, too.
prospect
Internally. Hey, AJ, thanks for the conversation today, man. Appreciate the talk, and we'll be watching this and get back to you if one of these things goes down.
Cool. Thanks for having me on, guys.